Hey everybody, welcome to today's Daily Dose of Awesome, your 15 minutes of inspiration, education, and motivation brought to you by Elite Marketing Pro. My name is Vitaly. I'm Chief Copywriter here at Elite Marketing Pro. And I'm coming to you live from my car because my kids are still loud at home and my dog's barking. And yesterday I didn't have really good reception in my backyard, and it's kind of hot and sunny, so I decided to follow what my friend Andrew Drawn does and get in my car and try to do a Facebook Live from here. So hopefully it's going to work a little bit better. At least it's quieter. So how are you guys? I see people are hopping on. Very good. That means you guys can see me and hear me, hopefully. Hi, Hannah. All right, perfect. So, all right, so today's topic is how to make your brain crank out great ads. How's that for a big promise for just 15 minutes? And but I promise you, I guarantee you that in the next 15 or so minutes, I'm going to share with you something that I know for a fact will help you literally turn your brain into an ad creation machine if you just practice these couple things that I'm going to give you. And what made me think about this, and in fact, I'm going to use today's Daily Dose of Awesome. I'm going to use, the title, how I came up with the title for this training, as well as just the overall structure of the call. I'm going to use that as an example. But anyway, what made me decide to cover this today is yesterday we talked on the Daily Dose of Awesome. We talked about the different triggers. Okay. Fernie says I want my brain to crank out great ads. Awesome. I promise you, Fernie, that you're going to learn how to do that. All right. But I have to remind myself to keep an eye on the comments too, because I'm so used to talking to the camera and I keep forgetting to look at the comments. So thank you for that reminder. Anyway, so yesterday on the Daily Dose of Awesome, we talked about triggers and different psychological triggers that you can use in your ads. And last night on the Monday Mojo, Matt Barron did a great job talking about Facebook ads and Facebook ad creation. And so I thought about, what is one of the biggest sticking points for people when creating great ads and just overall in constructing a message that resonates with your prospect. And there are multiple things. There are a number of things that you need to do and you need to have in your message that are obviously, we can't cover all 15 in just 15 minutes. But there's one thing, if I had to pick one thing that I want to make sure that my ads always cover, it's this one thing. Actually, it's two things, but it's kind of wrapped up into one. And that one thing is having a very clear benefit, okay? Having a very clear benefit of what my prospect is going to get. Because if you don't clearly tell your prospects, if you don't tell your audience what's in it for them, why they need to look at your ad, why they need to click on your ad, why they need to go take the next step, they're just not going to. We talk a lot about making stuff curiosity provoking and attention grabbing, and that's important, right? You need to grab their attention. And you need to make your ads and your headlines and your subject lines curiosity provoking. The problem is that if that's all it does, if you only provoke curiosity, that by itself is not going to be enough to get them to take the next step. It may be enough to get them to pay attention for just a little bit. And a perfect example of that is an old ad, and I don't know if it was in the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, but it's an old ad, classified ad, that was taken out in the newspaper by, I think it was a life insurance company or maybe a life insurance agency, and the headline the headline was "Free Sex." Okay, well, obviously that's pretty curiosity provoking, pretty shocking and attention grabbing, and all the things that you can imagine. So yes, I'm sure a lot of people looked at it, right, and actually started reading the ad. But then the opening of the ad said something to the effect of, well, now that I got your attention, let's talk about life insurance. Now that's trickery, okay? And that kind of curiosity is not going to get people to respond very well. In fact, it's going to piss people off and they're going to leave. So that's why I want to talk about benefits. So let's jump into it. So why do people buy? There's an old adage in copywriting and in marketing that when people go to a hardware store to buy a drill bit, they're not really buying a drill bit. What they're really buying is the hole, right? So think about that for a second. Whenever you make a purchase, any kind of a purchase, it's not really the thing that you're buying, it's what that thing does, right? So I'm no handyman. In fact, I don't like doing anything with my hands, as far as like work around the house or anything like that. But every now and then there's small little stuff that needs to get done. And so it takes a lot to motivate me to drive to Home Depot and get something that, that I need for the house, to fix something around the house, which I usually don't. But there are small things that sometimes it just doesn't make sense to hire anybody. So if I was to go to Home Depot, using an example of a drill bit, getting the drill bit doesn't motivate me. I don't want the drill bit, okay? But I do want the hole, or actually it's not even the hole. I want to drill a hole so that I can hang a picture, or I can put some kind of a frame, or do something, right? I want the final outcome. That's what motivates me. This is very important to understand. This is what motivates me to get in my car, go to a store that I don't necessarily want to go to, buy something that I don't necessarily want to buy, so that I can do something that I don't enjoy doing because I want the final outcome. That's the motivation, okay? And so behind every purchase, behind every, actually, not just purchase, but behind every action that people take, there's got to be some motivation. Going back to your ads. So if you want people to click on your ads, you got to motivate them to want to take that action. And what you have to do is you have to ask yourself this one question. What does my prospect want? What do I have to say in my ad to motivate people to want to take the next step? And this comes down to really a couple things. It comes down to, one, understanding who your prospect is, understanding what they want, understanding what drives them, what their desires, pains, frustrations, all the things that we talk about a lot of times, right? And also what their goals are, what they want, right? And also understanding what's on the next page that's going to help them achieve that. So for example, let's say you are creating an ad, or you're writing a blog or a Facebook post, and you want to get people to click on it so they can go check out an article about attraction marketing or whatever, okay? So you know about your prospect, but then you got to go to that article, that blog post, and you got to list the benefits. And this is one thing that I think we maybe have not been talking enough about, is you got to list all the different benefits that your prospect is going to receive by going to that post. So what are those benefits? Well, it's going to depend on the information in that post, right? But you're going to have to make a connection between what they're going to learn in that post, what to do, what not to do, whatever the information is. You're going to have to make that connection to what their goals, what their desires are. And you're going to have to condense it in a very short, 1-2 sentence paragraph, or really short statement in your ad, so that they're crystal clear about what they're going to get. And that's the only way that you're going to get people to take action. That's really the only way that you're going to motivate them to want to know what's on the next page. Because if you're just vaguely describing what the article is about, what the blog post is about, that's not going to give people enough juice to say, yeah, I'm going to interrupt my day and click on this and go spend the next few minutes reading it. Okay, that's how you have to think about motivating people. So knowing this, right, understanding that you're going to have to highlight the benefits, let's talk about how do you make your brain, and let's talk about the promise that I made in this particular, in the title of this Daily Dose of Awesome. How do you make your brain come up with copy that does that? Well, think about all the purchases you're making. Think about your daily life and all the purchases you're making, and maybe you're getting some direct mail in your mailbox, and you're seeing brochures, or you go to the store and you see brochures. I'm going to challenge you to do this. Most of them, by the way, most of the brochures out there, most of the commercials out there, they're not really good at describing the benefits. They're very good at describing features, okay? But they're not very good at describing benefits. So here's what you can do. Here's a little thing that you can do to practice and to make yourself a better marketer and a better copywriter. Look at any item out there, look at any brochure, or even if you go to a store and you look at simply at a description of that item, and ask yourself, how will buying this make my life better? And forget what it says in the description. Don't worry about the features. Look at those features, but try to turn them into benefits. Start training your mind to look at an object and ask yourself, what does it have to say to motivate me to want to buy this? So for example, a car, right? So I'm sitting in a car right now. I'm pretty sure most people watching this have a car. And what was the reason you bought your car? Okay. Now, when you look at the brochures from the dealership for the cars, you're going to see all kinds of features, right? Horsepower, leather seats, whatever, power windows. I don't think they have anything but power windows anymore. But anyway, all kinds of features that the car has. But these are features. That's not what really makes you want to spend money to buy this particular car. There's a reason why you bought your car and not another car, right? And it's because of how it makes you feel. Because you want to look good and you want to feel good about yourself, and you want to, what is 350 horsepower? If that's if that's one of the features in your car, what does that mean? That means it's fast, right? That means you can drive in comfort. Leather seats, that means the leather seats that are air conditioned or that heat up in the winter. That means that you can turn on your car and it's, even though it's freezing outside, but your seats will keep you warm. So those kinds of things. Okay, that's the kind of benefits that I'm talking about. And by going through this exercise, every time you look at a brochure or a piece of any kind of marketing material, you're going to train your brain to start looking at everything as a benefit. Right? So for example, another example would be, like I'm looking at different lawns here in my neighborhood, and when people buy services from these landscaping companies or lawn companies to take care of their lawn, they don't want the service, right? They're not paying to get their grass cut. What they're paying is to get their lawn looking great, so their neighbors can go, wow, they have a great looking lawn. I mean, isn't that what people want? And that's what you have to sell. That's what you have to sell. You have to sell the end result. Okay? So that's one of the techniques that I gave you is looking at, and you can train your brain. See, if you do this enough, you're going to train your brain to start thinking in benefits, and on a regular basis, you're going to be able to turn features into benefits. Anytime you look at something, you're going to be able to immediately turn a feature into a benefit. You can take a pencil, a pen, or anything, and simply turn it into a benefit, not just the features that this is a blue pen or this is a black pen or whatever. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. Here's another thing that you can do. You can look at things that you buy, things that you've bought. Okay, and when you buy something, I'm not talking about groceries or everyday commodities, but things like a book, a course, or some item, some luxury item, or maybe you bought certain travel package, maybe you bought a timeshare, I don't know. So things like that, all right? Not your everyday commodities. When you buy something, look at the purchase, and then as soon as you buy something or you feel the urge to buy it, ask yourself, why do I have this urge to buy it? What is within this product or within the sales copy or within this marketing message that's making me want to take action? So reverse engineer a little bit the process, your own decision-making process that you're going through, that's forcing you to take action. And that's going to give you a really deep insight into human psychology, because if you can understand why you're doing what you're doing, it's going to help you understand your prospects and how to motivate your prospects a lot better. So this is going to take a little bit of work, but that's how you can turn your brain into literally an ad creation machine. Because you're going to be able, because with enough practice, your brain is going to start seeing everything in benefits and how to turn things into benefits. Okay, just like everything I see is pretty much a story or a potential story that I can use in an email or a blog post. Okay, and that's how you train your brain to do it. So it takes a little bit of practice. It's a little bit of a workout for your mind, for your brain, but I promise you this works. Okay, so somebody just said this is gold. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So this is so this is a couple things you can do. Okay, now the other thing we talked about yesterday, speaking of benefits, and this is another crucial component of a great ad. So we talked about specificity, right? We talked about giving people a clear benefit of why they want to take action. But here's something else you need to do, and I'm going to use an example, as I promised you, of the title of this Daily Dose of Awesome, how I came up with it, to show you what I mean here. So so you got a clear benefit, okay? You know what you want to convey to your audience. Now you got to put it into words that's going to make them take action, and this is where you need to get very good at separating yourself from the pack, being different and being unique compared to a lot of other marketers and a lot of other promises that are being made. Because if you say the same thing that everybody else says, and we covered that last night on the Monday Mojo, if you say the same thing that everybody else says, you're not giving your audience, your prospects, really a reason to click and to spend their time to check things out, to check out your offer, because they've already heard it 5, 10, 15, 20 times. Because if everybody says the same thing, you're no different. And so one of the key things in marketing is to be different, is to be unique. And you can take the same offer and the same product and the same benefit, and you can say it a little bit differently. You can use different words that ignite emotions within people, and it'll sound a lot more different. So I'll give you an example, okay? Because, we can spend easily 30, 40 minutes, an hour talking about this, but I'll give you a very quick example. This particular Daily Dose of Awesome. My objective today with this training was to talk about benefits and how to take features and how to train your brain to turn features into benefits and how to make it sound exciting, how to motivate people to take action, right? And so initially, my headline that I came up with, or the title for this Daily Dose of Awesome, was Motivating Your Prospects to Take Action. So that's decent, right? I mean, it's benefit driven, right? It's what people want to hear, right? They want to know how to motivate people to take action. However, as I sat back and I looked at it, I thought, well, it doesn't really sound any different than a lot of other headlines, or not headlines, but titles that we've used in the past. Motivate people to say yes, motivate people to take action. So it's curiosity provoking. It's certainly benefit driven, but it's not unique anymore. Would you guys agree? I mean, it's kind of the same thing that you've heard over and over again. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna spend a few minutes and I'm gonna see how I can make this title sound more sexy, more compelling, more appealing, so that you look at it and you go, wow, I need to know how to do this, right? Even Fernie got an emotional reaction out of it. Yeah, it showed me how to turn my brain. So here's show me how to turn my brain into ad creation, or to create great ads, right? So here's the process that I went through. So I wrote down, okay, motivating your prospects to take action. So I started thinking about it. So what do I ultimately want to get people to do? I want to get people to create great ads. So my next title was How to Create Great Ads. Okay, that's pretty good too. Okay, but again, it's not very unique. It's not as compelling as it could be. Like, I have an internal gauge of how compelling a title is, and at some point when I get it right, it tells me, oh, this is it, right? Like, this motivates me. This feels like it's juicy enough, okay? And that's the gauge that I use. So the next one was how to make your brain create compelling copy. Ooh, now, as soon as that popped into my head, how to make your brain create compelling copy, that immediately created an emotional response out of me, because ultimately we want to create great ads, but we also don't want to do the work, right? So when I say how to make your brain create great ads, or I'm sorry, how to make your brain create compelling copy, now it's like you don't have to do the work. Your brain does the work. You see that? So there's a little of that psychology behind that title. So that's pretty much where I stopped. But then I said, okay, I could probably make this even better. And the next one I wrote was how to turn your brain into an ad creating machine. And then the final, and I almost went with that, but then the final version was how to make your brain crank out great ads. Okay, so listen, this is a Daily Dose of Awesome. I could have easily just said, motivating your prospects to take action, and that would have been good enough because it's just training. But I wanted to use this as an example of how you can take a decent benefit-driven headline, and by spending a few minutes and by playing with the words and by making your brain go through a little bit of this, how you can make it even juicier, even more exciting, more compelling, to a point where it literally ignites you and motivates you to want to know what this is all about. Because let's face it, as marketers, who doesn't want to turn their brain into an ad creation machine, or make your brain crank out compelling copy. And by the way, one more thing I want to say about the words. I use the words turn and make, but then in the end I said crank out great ads. See, just by the use of the word crank out, that immediately creates a visual image. Like, it's easy, it's simple, it's automatic. So there's a lot of emotion packed into these few words. And that's the process that you have to go through anytime you create headlines, right? So kind of recap, find out, what your prospects want, really get clear on what's the benefit that you want to convey, and, be unique, right? Figure out a way, or think about how you can say it in a unique way, and then spend some time to make it as compelling as you possibly can, so that really your headline leaves them no choice but to say, I got to find out how to do this, or I got to find out what this is all about. And that's the process you go through. And in order for you to help you do that, like I said, two things you can do is look around at all the marketing and all the commercials and all the stuff that you see out there and ask yourself, how can I make this better? How can I make it more? How could I turn those features that I see into benefits? And also look at your own decision-making process and your own purchasing behavior and reverse engineer that and look into what motivated you to want to buy it. And thank you very much, guys. I appreciate the comments, but that's all I got for you today. So hopefully you got some value out of it. Now let's go and let's crank out some ads. And I wanna hear you guys turning mediocre copy into great, compelling copy that's gonna get you results. With that, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.